Baltic Sea. It follows several incidents of damage to undersea cables and other infrastructure.
And tensions are intensifying in the Baltic Sea region as Russia and NATO conduct parallel military exercises.
Tensions were already rising in the Baltic Sea as Russia and NATO carried out parallel military drills.
NATO was also countering Russian aggression on and under the sea.
Warships moving, submarines patrolling, and every radar screen on high alert. But in the middle of all this pressure, one sonar monitor suddenly lit up with something completely out of place. A strange mark appeared, something no one on the surveillance team could recognize. At first, it looked like a glitch. Then more details emerged. A perfect disk, massive, cold, and sitting 90 meters beneath the surface. Edges too sharp to be natural. A shadow stretching from it like a long path or runway carved into the sea floor. Moments later, the team's equipment began acting up. Signals cut out. Cameras froze. Divers reported their gear shutting down as they approached the area, as if something down there didn't want to be found. The first AI scan only deepened the confusion. Metallic compounds are not common in this region. Surface patterns that matched nothing in global geological databases, and geometric lines so precise they defied the logic of nature. Whatever this object is, it wasn't shaped by water or time. And what we're about to uncover will make you question everything hiding below our oceans. Stay with us, because the truth begins now. The night it first appeared. The moment didn't arrive with excitement or triumph. It slipped in quietly, almost like an error, the kind of glitch every seasoned explorer has seen 100 times. That's why no one on the Ocean X vessel realized at first that they were staring at one of the strangest finds in modern marine history. It was June 2011, a night colder than usual even for the Baltic. Wind tapped against the metal railings of the boat, and the water below churned in slow, heavy waves. The mission was simple: locate a rumored shipwreck believed to be carrying crates of old alcohol from the early 1900s. Nothing mysterious, nothing extraordinary, just routine work. Peter Lindbergh sat by the sonar screen, eyes soft but steady. This was familiar territory for him, the beeping rhythm, the ghostly shapes drifting across the monitor. Dennis Osberg, his partner, checked the equipment behind him, expecting a long night of scanning mud and rocks. Then, the shadow appeared. At first, it drifted across the screen too cleanly, too smoothly. Peter frowned, tapping the controls to refresh the display. But the shape didn't break apart as sediment does. It sharpened. It became clearer with each second, as if emerging from the darkness intentionally. A near-perfect circle, 60 meters across, edges too defined to be carved by water or ice. For a heartbeat, no one spoke. It didn't make sense. Objects underwater soften over time. Currents wear down corners and turn structures into unrecognizable lumps. But this disk, stood tall above the seabed. It looked placed, not created. Dennis moved closer, his breath catching slightly. There was something on top of the disk, a dome-like rise, smooth yet structured, like the top of a manufactured shell. When Peter widened the scanning view, another detail crept into the frame. A straight line, long, narrow, and shockingly precise, extended from the object. A path. It didn't curve like a natural ridge or scatter like glacial debris. It led directly toward the disk, unwavering, like a guide or a track. It looked eerily similar to a runway someone or something had once used. Silence settled over the cabin. Peter checked the settings again. Dennis rebooted one of the devices. Another crew member recalibrated the sonar. Every test returned the same result. No error, no malfunction. The reading was real. And that's when things started to feel wrong. As the team prepared to mark the coordinates, the equipment began acting strangely. Compass needles twitched violently, spinning in small, nervous circles. Cameras powered on, then off, refusing to stay stable. Even basic lights flickered as if the air around them carried a charge the human eye couldn't see. The deeper they scanned, the more the interference grew. It was as if the object didn't want to be examined or wasn't meant to be. The disk stayed still, silent, and unmoving at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. But something about its presence made the crew feel it wasn't simply lying there. It was waiting. AI enters the mystery. For more than a decade, scientists, divers, and skeptics circled the same arguments around the Baltic Sea anomaly. Some insisted it was nothing more than volcanic basalt shaped by pressure. Others swore it looked like the remains of ancient glacial movement. A few even suggested it was a piece of some forgotten shipwreck resting peacefully under layers of sediment. On paper, every theory sounded safe and logical, until researchers lined them up with the hard details found at the site. That's when every explanation began to fall apart. Nothing matched the perfect geometry. Nothing explained the dome. Nothing made sense of the strange interference that shut down equipment. Then, everything shifted the moment AI entered the investigation. In 2025, a new research team received funding to revisit the anomaly using tools that didn't exist in 2011. They brought in advanced machine learning systems built to analyze massive amounts of data, not with human guesswork, but with pure pattern recognition. These systems were trained on millions of natural underwater structures, volcanic rocks, glacial formations, coral builds, eroded cliffs, collapsed caves, ship debris, metal wreckage, anything that had ever been recorded on the sea floor. Their mission was simple but powerful. Find a match. Any match. The AI started by scanning the earliest sonar images. At first, it moved quickly, identifying the basic shape and layout. But then its speed dropped. The system paused so often that researchers assumed it had crashed. They reset it. They adjusted inputs. They even checked the power supplies, thinking something had gone wrong. But nothing was broken. The AI wasn't stalling because of an error. It was stalling because the anomaly didn't belong to any known category. Slowly, strange highlights began appearing on the screen. The AI marked angle clusters that were too sharp for natural rock. It flagged uniform spacing along the disk that looked deliberate. It traced the curves around the dome and noted how they followed a precise radius one rarely found in geological structures. Each highlighted area pointed to one conclusion the team had never expected. The object didn't behave like something formed by nature. When the AI expanded its analysis, the surprises grew even stranger. It detected symmetrical grooves running along the outer edges of the disk. These grooves weren't random. They followed a pattern, repeating with near-identical spacing. Natural formations can be repeating, but not with this level of order. These grooves were clean, straight, and smooth in ways that made the geologists fall silent. Next, the AI projected a 3D reconstruction of the object using all available scans. This reconstruction revealed several hollow areas beneath the disk's internal cavities and chambers shaped with unusual angles. Instead of looking worn down by water pressure or erosion, these spaces looked purpose-built, the way engineered spaces do when they're created with intention. But the detail that truly froze the room was the surface pattern detection. The AI traced lines across the top of the anomaly that repeated in geometric sequences. These weren't scratches or random marks. They formed shapes arranged almost like panels or segments. Then came the metallic signatures. The system filtered local geological data, checking if the metals around the anomaly matched anything naturally occurring in that region. The answer was no. It checked if they matched metals from known shipwrecks nearby. Again, nothing matched. These metallic traces were scattered around the site, almost as if something made of metal had broken or shed pieces over time. The scientists couldn't argue this one away. Something metallic had been there. But the AI wasn't finished. It moved on to the long, straight structure leading toward the disk, the same runway that had puzzled divers since day one. Most researchers had assumed it was a crack in the seafloor or an unusual trench formed by glaciers long ago. But the AI disagreed. It analyzed the texture, compression points, and shape of the trench. The results were unsettling. The runway didn't show signs of random formation. It showed signs of movement, smooth, straight, and consistent, like something heavy had traveled across it. The depth and pressure marks suggested that the object at the end didn't simply settle there. It didn't fall there. It didn't drift through the sea. The path looked like something had slid across the seafloor fast and then stopped. In other words, whatever created that trail arrived with force on purpose. The electronic disturbances no one can explain. Divers who attempted to study the anomaly always returned with the same chilling story. The object kills electronics. It doesn't spark, explode, or burn wires. It simply shuts everything off suddenly, cleanly, and without warning, like someone pressing an invisible master switch. At first, crews thought it was just bad luck or faulty gear, but after repeated dives with newly tested equipment, the pattern became impossible to ignore. The closer anyone moved toward the anomaly, the more every device began to fail. At around 40 meters, small glitches started flickering lights, slow camera response, and unstable readings. At roughly 20 meters, the shutdown was total. Satellite phones fell silent as if the signal had been swallowed whole by the water. Underwater drones drifted sideways or spiraled as though their internal guidance had been wiped.
This is the Chasing Dory underwater drone. They say it's the smallest and most affordable underwater drone on the market.
Digital watches froze. Compasses spun in circles like they were trapped inside a magnetic storm. Metal detectors went from loud buzzing to dead silence. Even old analog devices behaved strangely, ticking irregularly or stopping altogether. Then, in the most baffling twist, once divers swam away from the object, sometimes by only a few meters, everything came back to life. Cameras rebooted, lights blinked on, tools began working as if someone had flipped the switch back on. It was so consistent that divers started to treat the dead zone like a boundary line. When electronics stopped working, it meant they were too close. What makes this so strange is that ordinary rocks on the seafloor cannot do this. They don't generate fields powerful enough to shut down equipment. Even the minerals known to interfere with compasses cannot wipe out signals from satellite phones through thick layers of water. Some scientists tried blaming iron-rich material or magnetic deposits, but nothing in that part of the Baltic Sea matches the strength or the behavior of what divers experienced. This wasn't random interference. It acted with a radius, it acted with force, and it acted the same way every single time. When the 2025 AI project reanalyzed the old sonar archives, it detected something earlier teams had missed. Hidden in the data were faint, repeating electromagnetic signatures, subtle pulses buried deep beneath the noise. These weren't natural patterns. They didn't behave like minerals or volcanic rock. They also weren't strong enough to signal a functioning machine, but they also weren't zero, which created an even bigger mystery. The readings looked like leftover energy, almost like the residue of something that had once been active. The AI noted unusual spikes around the disk's edges, forming a loose ring of interference. The shape of the field didn't match anything produced by geological processes. It was too organized, too contained, almost controlled. Another odd detail appeared when researchers compared the interference zone to the anomaly's runway. The shutdown effect was strongest where the long path met the disk, as though something had once moved across that stretch and left behind an energy trail. Whatever created that track didn't just settle there and sleep. It left a mark strong enough that machines still react to it today. Scientists tried another explanation. Perhaps the structure was made of alloys that interacted strangely with seawater. But none of the known alloys on record, ship metals, submarine wreckage, or ancient tools, behave this consistently or with such a range. It left experts with a puzzle they hate, an effect with no natural cause. If energy remains inside the object, why hasn't it faded? If the interference is artificial, who or what built a device that still affects modern electronics from nearly 100 meters underwater? No one has found the answer yet. But every failed device, every spinning compass, and every silent radio points to the same unsettling truth. Something beneath the Baltic Sea is still holding power that should not be there. Connections to ancient water levels. The Baltic Sea wasn't always the vast, icy expanse we know today.
And in the Baltic Sea, another incident has raised the stakes even higher.
Thousands of years ago, during the last ice age, its waters were far lower, and much of the seabed now submerged was once solid, dry land. Rivers carved through valleys where only deep water flows today, and dense forests spread across areas now buried under mud and silt. Imagine standing on what is now the ocean floor. There would have been soil under your feet, trees overhead, and birds in the sky. It was a completely different world, a landscape shaped by ice and time, not by water and waves. For anything man-made or anything that arrived from above, the rising waters would have been a silent, unstoppable force. A structure, a ship, or even something unidentifiable could have been swallowed by the slow but relentless rise of the sea. And that's where the Baltic Sea anomaly becomes even more baffling. AI-assisted mapping of the area shows that the anomaly's location isn't random. It sits precisely along ancient land ridges, the kind of natural slopes that existed around 12,000 years ago. The orientation of the object, along with the straight runway leading to it, aligns almost perfectly with these old contours. It's as if whoever or whatever placed it there accounted for the lay of the land long before humans had the tools to do such calculations. The sediment surrounding the anomaly tells its own story. Layers of silt and sand that have built up over centuries are younger than the anomaly itself. This suggests that the object settled onto the seabed first, and only afterward did the layers of earth accumulate around it, almost as if the ocean was slowly reclaiming the land it once covered. If this is true, then the anomaly isn't a recent shipwreck or a glacial leftover. It existed before the water rose to swallow it. It existed before recorded human history. Consider the scale of time here. Civilizations that built the pyramids, that sailed across oceans in wooden ships, that recorded kings and empires, all of that came long after this object may have arrived. It's a chilling thought. Something sitting silently beneath the Baltic Sea for thousands of years, older than anything we have written records of, older than the earliest human monuments, quietly waiting while glaciers melted and seas rose. And yet, despite its age, it is not lifeless. The anomaly interacts with the environment in ways no natural formation should. Electromagnetic readings, odd metallic signatures, and the strange ability to interfere with electronics suggest that whatever this is, it has endured time with a presence and a power that defies normal explanation. The alignment with ancient water levels, the runway, and the perfectly placed disk all hint at deliberate design. Something or someone intended this to be exactly where it sits, long before we could even imagine it. The Baltic Sea we see today is just a shallow layer over a much older world. And beneath that layer, this anomaly may be the most profound remnant of that forgotten time. For scientists, divers, and AI analysts, it raises questions that touch on the very origins of civilization, and even the possibility that life or intelligence beyond our current understanding played a role in shaping what lies deep beneath the waves. Whatever the truth, the object's story begins in an era that predates everything we know, waiting silently in the Baltic Sea, daring us to uncover it. Human, natural, or something else. The Baltic Sea anomaly doesn't neatly fit into any single category. Every time researchers think they've found an explanation, the object defies it. Its perfectly circular shape, unusual angles, and raised position above the seabed make it unlike anything formed naturally. At the same time, the metallic traces and runway-like path suggest deliberate placement or movement, hinting at design. This is why, over the years, 4 main theories have consistently resurfaced, each with its own set of believers and skeptics. The first theory is the natural formation idea. This is considered the safest explanation by mainstream scientists. According to this view, the anomaly could be a leftover from glacial activity, a strange deposit of basalt, or some unusual underwater erosion. Yet, AI scans have challenged this theory repeatedly. Advanced machine learning models compared the anomaly to millions of known geological structures and found nothing that truly matches. Its symmetry is too precise, the surface too smooth, and the angles too sharp to be random. Even geologists who favor natural explanations admit that this object is unlike anything they've studied before. It is not impossible that nature created it, but the odds seem almost too small to accept without question. The second idea is that the anomaly might be a lost ancient structure. Thousands of years ago, the Baltic Sea looked very different. Land masses that are now submerged were once dry and inhabited. Some researchers suggest that an ancient civilization,
so it's either a prior human civilization or non-human civilization that's constructed that object and it's sitting there, and maybe it's a relic of some past civilization,
long forgotten and drowned by rising waters, could have built it. The straight path resembling a runway supports this theory, as it implies intentional design rather than accidental formation. Could it have been a ceremonial platform, a landing site, or some technological relic of a society that predated recorded history? AI data adds an extra layer of intrigue, as it shows geometric patterns that look far too organized to be random natural shapes. A third theory speculates that the anomaly is a crashed craft. Its disc shape, metallic traces, and the slide mark behind it suggest it might have landed or fallen. This theory excites those who lean toward more mysterious possibilities. If it is a vehicle, human or otherwise, no records exist of anything like it, especially one capable of surviving underwater for so long. The precision of the path and the raised position of the disc make it hard to dismiss the idea of controlled movement rather than a simple fall from above. Finally, a smaller group of scientists quietly entertains the idea that it could be an underwater installation. Not alien, not magical, simply technology far older than previously thought possible. Some suggest it might have been constructed for a purpose we no longer understand: research, observation, or transport. The layout, symmetry, and metallic components make this theory plausible to those willing to think outside conventional explanations. Despite decades of investigation, no theory fits perfectly. Each one explains a piece of the puzzle, yet every explanation leaves gaps. And now, after the latest AI scans, the mystery has only deepened. The technology revealed details invisible to the naked eye, patterns that seem too precise, angles too sharp, and evidence of movement or construction that defies known history. The more we look, the less we understand. One thing is clear: this is not a simple rock. It is not a typical shipwreck. It is something entirely different, something that continues to challenge every expectation and pushes the limits of human understanding. Whatever the truth is, the Baltic Sea anomaly refuses to be categorized. It waits beneath the waves, silent, ancient, and more enigmatic than ever. And with AI now revealing layers of detail we could not see before, the question lingers stronger than ever. What really lies down there? The Baltic Sea has many secrets, but none as strange as this silent disk resting in the dark. For more than a decade, experts tried to force it into familiar categories: rock, wreck, ice age remnant, but every answer raised new questions. And now, with AI revealing markings that don't appear natural and metals that don't belong to the region, the story has entered a new chapter. If the anomaly is natural, it will change what we believe about ancient geology. If it's human-made, it means a lost civilization built something far beyond its time. And if it's none of those, then we might be staring at something our world wasn't ready to find. The next phase of scanning is underway. More data is coming, And every update pushes us closer to a truth that may not fit into any history book we've ever read. Stay with this mystery. Follow the journey. And if you want YouTube to show you the next chapter the moment it breaks, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling us what you believe the Baltic Sea anomaly really is. Because the story isn't over, it's only beginning.